Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am naturopath Fiona Chin. I am co-founder of Kaigenesis and co-author of the Kidney Disease Solution. And I'm joined today by the beautiful Emily Carhill. Bang, bang, as the dog goes under the table and between my legs. Emily is a fully registered nurse and naturopath. She works at one of the big hospitals here in Melbourne in the neurological and cardiovascular ward. She also is a naturopath with the Wellness Guru. She is specializing in all things kidney disease, oncology, and MS. So very excited to have her join the Wellness Guru team, which is my clinic. And she also is our master naturopath here at Kidney Coach. She often answers a lot of your emails alongside our other beautiful naturopath, Rachel. And if you said anything about Kaigenesis or our products, it'll be Emily answering those questions. She also writes lots of our blogs and Facebook posts in between everything else that she does. So I'm just thinking about how much I was when I was seeing patients 2 days a week, and then doing all of this. And I'm like, you're doing all of that plus nursing. And I'm like, how does Emily even have time to breathe? Plus you do all the Kidney Coach stuff with the emails, whereas I'm more doing the other stuff. But yeah, how are you? You must be flat out all the time.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. We'll have to discuss this one later. Emily's not the most well-behaved person. Sometimes we have to just waggle our little fingers at her. She likes to be busy. She suffers the same disease I do, busynessitis, or whatever we want to call that. So today we thought we would talk about alkalizing, because it's so important in kidney disease, and particularly the difference between using something like bicarbonated soda, which is what most of our kidney community would be told to use, especially during all phases of kidney disease. They're normally told to use bicarb. But we at Kidney Coach have a bit of a different opinion. We really like magnesium citrates, or any citrate, to alkalize, especially if you're in stages 1 to 3. And so we wanted to go through why we prefer citrates over bicarb, how magnesium or any of the citrates work in alkalizing, and just a basic overview of what alkalizing is and why that's so important in kidney disease. So with that all said, Em, do you want to give us a bit of an overview about what alkalizing is and why it's something that we always drum on about here at Kidney Coach?
Yeah, so when we're talking about alkalizing the body, we're talking about the acid-base balance in the body. So all of our cells, organs, blood in the body functions at a specific pH. And so what we want is, when we're talking about alkalizing, we're particularly talking about the pH of our blood. So that should be sitting between 7.35 to 7.45. And if the pH moves further towards that lower point of the 7.35, then the body is more acidic. And that's problematic because our body functions better in a slightly alkaline environment. And it has big effects on, particularly on the kidneys. So the kidneys are one of the main organs responsible for keeping that pH balance. So if your body is more acidic, then we will excrete more acids through our urine. So the body tries to get rid of some of those acids so as we can be more alkaline. The lungs as well are involved because that's how we excrete carbon dioxide, so we breathe it out. And then we've also got buffering systems in the body. So that particularly is using things like alkaline minerals, so calcium, magnesium, potassium, to help maintain that blood pH. So because obviously keeping our pH within that range, if we become either too acidic or too alkaline, that's a medical emergency. So our body will do everything it can to try to keep the pH within that range. So it'll do things like pull minerals, so magnesium, calcium, and things like that from bone. It'll pull magnesium from muscles, from our cells, in order to keep our blood within that range.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the lungs in there as well, but the condition, if your body does become too acidic, is called metabolic acidosis. And as Emily mentioned, that's a medical emergency. And we're often, so when people are measuring their pH, they're going to be measuring it via urine, right? So that's got a slightly different pH a bigger range, right? Because blood is such, we call it homeostasis, where the body wants to keep in this reference range, and it's quite a small range when it's the blood. Urine's a little bit bigger. And yeah, maybe talk about the test strips, the urine, the sort of levels that we're looking at in there, and then let's talk about why alkalizing, well, we spoke about why it's so important with the kidneys and all of those sort of things, but particularly with kidney disease, why that's so important.
So one of the ways that we can test the acid-base balance of the body is through urine and through pH. So as I mentioned, when the body's more acidic, it'll excrete more acids in our urine. So it'll try to get rid of them. So that means that our urine will be more acidic. So the way to do that is buying pH strips, which you can often get from pharmacies or online. And it's literally just peeing on the pH strip. And the strip then changes color depending on the pH of your urine. So what we are aiming for is the pH to be between sort of 6.75 and 7.25, within that range. Lower than that means your body's more acidic, and higher than that means your body's more alkaline. So that's one way to test it, and it's the easier way to test it. We can also look at blood tests, but obviously something you can do at home kind of every day is a lot easier. And I guess the reason why it is such a big deal for people with kidney disease is that, you know, we know from research and we know from studies that the more acidic someone's body is, the more we see progression of kidney disease. So GFR drops as people are more acidic, because it causes different things to happen within the kidneys and within the body that actually causes damage to the kidneys. It causes fibrosis or scarring of the kidneys. So you get sort of those things going on, as well as things like issues with bones, so increased risk of osteoporosis because the body's pulling the minerals from the bones to try to keep itself more alkaline. Like malnutrition, so people start having muscle wastage. Yeah, so those sort of things can kind of come along with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And as Emily mentioned, the kidneys are the primary organ along with the lungs that keep the body in that balance. And it's super important because you moving out of those reference ranges is, like Emily mentioned, a medical emergency. So it's super important. And then as your kidney function declines, obviously it's harder then for the kidneys to regulate and keep the body within those reference ranges that we want. So if you've got kidney disease and you're progressing, one of the things we want to do, one of the things we do through the Kidney Disease Solution program that we've got, one of our major things is to alkalize people through diet, but then also using supplementation. So we're just about to release. I've just literally ticked off on our new alkalizing formula. So exciting. So hopefully we'll have that ready to go April, May. It's got some good stuff in it, like sour cherry extract and other bits and pieces. But we've got two formulas. And so we've got a alkalizing formula for people in stages kidney disease 1 to 3, and that uses Mag Citrate as the alkalizer. And then stages 4 and 5, we use bicarb. So, and let's talk about why in earlier stages of kidney disease, we have a preference for something like a magnesium citrate as an alkalizing buffer versus something like sodium bicarbonate, and the pros and cons of each.
Yeah. So sodium bicarbonate, one of the issues that happens when people are supplementing it is that it actually affects the pH of the stomach. So it makes our stomach pH more alkaline, and our stomach pH usually should be very acidic. So I think it's in the range of sort of about 1 to 3. So really in that very acidic range. But when we make it more alkaline, then it affects our ability to break down and food and absorb nutrients from food. It also can give people side effects because of this, like things like bloating, diarrhea, nausea, stomach pain, because it's really affecting your whole the way your body's able to digest. It can also contribute to having your stomach, the bacteria in your gut getting a bit out of balance, because when we need an acidic pH to keep our bacteria sort of in control, so we can start to get things like bacterial overgrowth. Whereas if we're talking about using citrates to alkalize, so magnesium citrate, it doesn't have an effect on the pH of the stomach. So it's not affecting the breakdown absorption of our food or our nutrients. And it also, I guess you kind of get the added benefit. So when we take a magnesium citrate, the magnesium uncouples or from the citrate. So we have magnesium, iron and citrate. So you're getting the benefit of a magnesium supplement. And we've spoken about magnesium before and why it's so beneficial in kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. And then you're getting the citrate molecule. And what the citrate does is it binds to hydrogen ions. And so hydrogen ions are acidic. So it binds to them in the blood, and that lets them be converted into carbon dioxide and water. Our lungs then breathe out the carbon dioxide and we're just left with the water. So that's the way that it helps to make the body more alkaline.
Yeah, and in the studies that I saw, I think they were the ones done by Biopractica, but who specialise in, they're an Australian naturopathic company that make practitioner-only products, and they're really big on this. They make a lot of amazing alkaline products too. And one of the things where I was looking at in their research, it was like 2 hours after taking a mag citrate, people's urine pH, it was urine they were looking at, was backed into an alkaline level. And then when they continued to use alkalizing products over 2 to 4 weeks, the blood had a big upward shift in pH, which means upward meaning moving it more towards alkaline. I think it's very confusing for people. And so people then were maintaining more alkalizing levels through doing that, which is amazing. So huge fan of that for all the reasons that Emily mentioned. Plus, we don't have this neutralizing effect on stomach acid, which is at that pH for a reason. We don't want to make that more alkaline. So why would we not use, excuse me, why would we not use, he can't help himself, why would we not use mag citrate in someone that maybe had stage 3 or 4 kidney disease? Polo, did you want to answer that for everybody? No? Okay, good. Let's let Emily do that instead then.
So the kidneys are responsible for, they excrete magnesium. So if we've got a lot of magnesium in our body, or to balance our magnesium levels, our kidneys are responsible for doing that. So in the later stages of kidney disease, we can potentially have an increased risk of having too much magnesium if we're supplementing. So that's really why, because as kidney function declines, that ability of the body to regulate magnesium levels and keep them within the range that they're supposed to be starts to decline as well.
Yeah, so although Emily, when we spoke about magnesium, one of the things we said was that a lack of magnesium sped up EGFR decline, didn't it? So one of the things I'd want to add with that is we did, you know, when we've created the alkalizing supplement, and when we generally recommend, we just generally broadly split people from stages 1 to 3 and then stages 4 to 5, especially 5 if people are on dialysis, because depending what they're using inside the dialysis solutions, of whether that's got magnesium and things like that in there. That being said, if you have and again, go and listen to the YouTube video that Emily and I did on magnesium. If you have a red cell magnesium blood test and it's low, or even if it's normal, I think, and tell me if you disagree, but I would be still recommending you use the magnesium citrate version to alkalize versus the sodium bicarbonate. And the only time I wouldn't be using the mag citrate is if you actually have issues with elevated magnesium, and that's generally due to dialysis or very end stage kidney disease. But magnesium issues aren't something that we often see in kidney disease. Maybe we see more potassium and maybe some phosphorus issues, but magnesium is a much rarer one for us to, I've maybe only seen it twice in the entire time I've been treating kidney disease. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't, I'm trying to think, I don't often see elevated magnesium levels. And I do, with some clients, even those in, you know, stage 4 kidney disease, recommend magnesium, but that's because we have had it tested. And we do know what the magnesium levels are, and it is something then that we can continue to monitor. So yeah, definitely in those circumstances, I would still use mag citrate over sodium bicarb, but only really if you have had that tested on a blood test, and that is something that your doctor's willing to continue to monitor.
Yeah, totally agree. That one has to be tested first. We don't guess with that. So if you've got a good nephrologist or a good GP that's happy to run a red cell magnesium test, not just serum, and we see that your magnesium is either in the normal range or on the low end, which most people are, then yeah, we would definitely be using the Mag Citrate. And then you just continue to monitor it. Probably if you're alkalizing and you're in stages, say 4 or 5, I'd be running that probably every 4 to 6 weeks for the first maybe month or so, just to make sure the magnesium's not bumping your levels over. And if that's pretty good, then you could probably drop back to every 3 months and just keep an eye on it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Anything else you want to say about alkalizing and bicarb versus mag?
Not so much bicarb versus mag, but I guess just to stress the importance of following an alkaline diet as well. So using alkalizing supplements shouldn't be instead of following an alkaline diet, it can as well as. And also, I guess, just stressing the importance, because this is something that I recommend to all the clients I see, but not that many of them seem to follow through and do it, is actually testing a urinary pH. It's super easy to do. It does not take long. So just, that way you can really be monitoring what's actually going on for you.
Yeah, and Em's right. First thing in the morning, you just leave. I've got test strips that I use. They sit in the bathroom, and first morning urine, I just pee on my stick. I've got an alkalizing water filter and things like that, which helps. And then I obviously eat an alkaline diet as well. And I'll be going on my alkalizing supplements once they come. So, but yeah, it's a really, really easy test, and it's so invaluable because you know what you're up to. And often days where I haven't quite recovered from gym training as much, or if I'm feeling a bit stressed, it'll often correlate to my body being slightly more acidic. So it's really useful. And I often test my saliva as well. I've got very alkaline saliva, which actually probably means I don't break down my food as well. Might be one of the reasons I'm so lean. So there are things that we can look at when we're looking at the differences between saliva versus urine and things like that, but it gets a bit more complicated. But yeah, peeing on a stick every morning, super easy to do, especially if you just want to make sure that your kidney function is okay and that you're doing all the right things with diet and everything else. So perfect. Anything else you want to add there, Em?
No, that's it.
Perfect. All right. So if you have any comments or questions about it, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I do look at that and I will get back to you. If you want more information about the kidney disease solution and what it is that our team does, then head over to www.kidneycoach.com and you'll find all the information there about the team. If you want to book a consult with Emily to go over some of this stuff and refine things, if you're already doing the kidney disease solution, that's what Emily's there for if you're already on the program. And then we've got our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/kidneycoach. We are posting on there every day, and there's heaps of comments and a great community there. And of course, we recommend that you hit subscribe so you get notified anytime we put out new content, and give us a like. That always just helps the algorithms in good old YouTube to make sure that we get bumped up over some, I don't know, porn or something else that's on there. Who knows? We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being a huge part of our community. Emily, thank you always for your time. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, bye.